He's the crown prince of one of the world's wealthiest cities, heir to an empire built on oil, real estate, and innovation. Dubai's crown prince Sheikh Hamdan lives a life most can only dream of. Supercars, private jets, exotic pets, and properties spanning the globe. His possessions paint a picture of unimaginable luxury, yet the true scale of his fortune remains one of the UAE's best-kept secrets. In this video, we will discuss how the Crown Prince spends his millions. The Crown Prince's fortune. Calculating Sheikh Hamdan's wealth isn't like looking up a CEO's stock portfolio. The UAE doesn't require royal family members to disclose their finances. No public records, no tax returns, no shareholder reports. What he owns personally versus what belongs to the family or the state itself remains deliberately unclear. Estimates place his personal net worth anywhere from $400 million to $18 billion. That's not a margin of error. It's two entirely different categories of wealth. The lower figure focuses on liquid assets, his salary as a government official, direct investments, and inheritance he can access immediately. The higher number includes his share of the Al Maktoum family's holdings, which control much of Dubai's economic infrastructure. The family operates through the Investment Corporation of Dubai, a sovereign wealth fund with stakes in nearly every major sector: real estate, ports and logistics, aviation, tourism. Oil revenues, though less significant than in other Gulf states, still flow through government channels that the family oversees. Separating personal ownership from institutional control becomes almost impossible when the same people run both. Dubai's post-pandemic surge added another layer. Property values jumped as wealthy buyers fled other regions. Cryptocurrency investments, an area the UAE government has embraced, generated returns for those positioned early. Sheikh Hamdan's portfolio, managed through advisors with access to these opportunities, likely grew substantially. But proving how much went directly into his accounts versus family trusts or government funds, that stays behind closed doors. Forbes doesn't list him on their billionaire rankings, not because he lacks the money, but because his wealth can't be separated from the family's estimated $14 to $20 billion collective fortune. It's structured that way intentionally. Royal wealth in the UAE functions as a hybrid, part personal, part institutional, part state asset. His income streams are equally layered. A government salary for his official roles, though modest by billionaire standards. Returns on investments made through private firms and family offices. Inheritance from a father worth billions. Stakes in businesses that operate under the family name but generate independent revenue. Prize money from his championship horses, which he reportedly donates. The opacity isn't accidental. It's how Gulf monarchies maintain both modern economic systems and traditional royal structures. Sheikh Hamdan benefits from this arrangement, but pinning down exactly what he controls versus what controls him requires looking at what he actually spends money on. The most visible signs of that spending start with how he moves around, on land, in the air, and across water. His transportation empire. Sheikh Hamdan's garage reads like a supercar manufacturer's wish list. Bugattis, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, the kind of vehicles most people see behind velvet ropes at auto shows. His collection, spread across climate-controlled facilities, represents tens of millions in automotive engineering. These aren't investments that appreciate, they're machines built to be driven, and from his social media posts, he actually uses them. Aviation access operates on a different scale entirely. The family maintains a Boeing 747, one of the largest private aircraft configurations possible, a commercial airliner converted for royal use, complete with meeting rooms and sleeping quarters. Sheikh Hamdan flies on it regularly for state business, though whether he personally owns it or shares it through family holdings remains unclear. He's also connected to smaller private jets for shorter trips. Gulf royals don't fly commercial. On water, his yacht Fazza serves as a floating extension of his lifestyle. Estimated between $50 and $100 million, it includes helipads, multiple decks, and accommodations for extended voyages. Not the largest yacht in Dubai, that distinction belongs to others, but substantial enough to cross oceans without concern. The name matches his social media handle, making it both a personal asset and a brand statement. Here's where the image splits. Despite owning vehicles worth more than most people's homes, Sheikh Hamdan regularly drives himself around Dubai in far more modest cars. Residents report seeing him in standard SUVs, sometimes stuck in the same traffic as everyone else. No motorcades, no constant security detail visible to casual observers. He parks at local restaurants and walks in like any other customer. This contrast isn't accidental. His public persona balances privilege with accessibility. The supercars exist, documented and real. But his daily reality includes normal driving, normal interactions, normal visibility. It's calculated relatability, maintaining both the mystique of wealth and the image of a grounded leader. Combined, his transportation assets likely total well over $100 million. That's conservative, assuming shared family access to aircraft and underestimating the full vehicle collection. But numbers only tell part of the story. What matters is how he uses them and what that usage signals about how Dubai's next ruler wants to be seen. Transportation shows where he goes, real estate reveals where he belongs, and where his influence extends far beyond personal ownership. His real estate kingdom. Sheikh Hamdan's primary residence sits in Nad Al Sheba, a sprawling compound that functions as both home and private retreat. The property includes stables for his champion horses, facilities for his exotic animals, and enough land to maintain privacy in a city known for dense development. It's not open to the public, and the exact square footage remains undisclosed. What's visible through aerial photography suggests a scale that goes beyond residential, more like a self-contained estate. He maintains additional properties throughout Dubai, though distinguishing between personal palaces and official residences gets complicated. Royal family members often occupy government-owned buildings for life, treating them as personal property without technically holding the deed. The lines blur intentionally. International holdings extend to the United Kingdom, where the Al Maktoum family has invested heavily for generations. Estates in Scotland and England, acquired through family trusts, serve as bases during visits for horse racing and business. Whether Sheikh Hamdan owns these directly or accesses them through shared family arrangements isn't publicly documented. Property records show trust ownership, not individual names. His real influence over real estate comes through his role as chairman of the Dubai Executive Council. In that capacity, he oversees development projects worth billions. Emaar Properties, the company behind the Burj Khalifa and Dubai Mall, operates with government backing his office coordinates. He doesn't own Emaar personally, but his decisions shape what gets built and where. That's power measured in skyline changes, not just property titles. This distinction matters. When new districts rise in Dubai, when land gets rezoned, when major developments receive approval, his office signs off. The benefit to his personal wealth isn't direct ownership, it's influence over the entire market, including where family investments get positioned before public announcements. Estimating his direct real estate portfolio requires separating what he lives in from what he controls. Personal residences and international properties likely total several $100 million in value, possibly more. But that figure ignores the institutional properties he commands and the market influence his position provides. Real estate in Dubai isn't just about ownership, it's about who decides what gets built next. And Sheikh Hamdan sits at that intersection, where personal wealth and governmental power become almost indistinguishable. Beyond buildings and bureaucracy, Sheikh Hamdan invests heavily in something more personal, a passion that costs millions annually and defines much of his public image: his passion for animals. Sheikh Hamdan's connection to horses goes beyond a hobby. He rides competitively, winning international endurance championships that require covering distances up to 100 miles on horseback. These aren't ceremonial appearances. He trains seriously, competes against professional riders, and has medals to show for it. His skill level puts him among the top endurance riders in the region. The family operates Godolphin, one of the world's premier horse racing operations. Over its history, Godolphin horses have won over $1 billion in prize money across global competitions. Sheikh Hamdan oversees part of this empire, with his personal stable housing champion bloodlines worth millions per horse. Breeding rights alone for top performers generate substantial returns. A single stallion from a winning line can command stud fees that pay for entire facilities. Maintaining these animals requires infrastructure most people never see. Climate-controlled stables, veterinary staff on call around the clock, specialized trainers for each discipline, transportation logistics to move horses between Dubai and international racing venues. The annual operating costs run into millions, and that's before accounting for acquisition prices. His social media reveals a wider menagerie: lions, tigers, falcons perched on his arm during desert outings. These aren't zoo visits. He keeps exotic animals as part of his household. In the UAE, private ownership of such species is legal under specific permits, though controversial elsewhere. The care requirements for big cats alone, dietary needs, enclosures, veterinary specialists, add up quickly. He's also documented rescuing distressed wildlife: an oryx struggling in the desert, a gazelle separated from its herd. Whether these incidents are spontaneous or planned for publicity, they reinforce his public image as someone who values animal welfare. The UAE media regularly highlights these moments. Falconry carries particular cultural significance in the region. Training a hunting falcon takes months of daily work, building trust between bird and handler. Sheikh Hamdan participates actively, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a practiced falconer. The birds he flies are themselves valuable. Trained hunting falcons sell for thousands, championship birds for much more. The financial commitment to this lifestyle easily reaches tens of millions annually. But the return isn't monetary. It's image, cultural connection, and genuine passion converted into a very expensive hobby that happens to align perfectly with his public role: power, influence, and investment. Sheikh Hamdan holds the title of Chairman of the Dubai Executive Council, effectively making him the city's chief operating officer. He's also deputy ruler as of 2021, positioning him as his father's direct successor. These aren't ceremonial roles. He chairs meetings where major policy decisions get finalized, budgets are approved, and strategic directions are set for an entire emirate. Through these positions, he influences entities like Emirates Airlines, Dubai World, and Emaar Properties without appearing on any shareholder registry. The government owns these companies. He runs the government body that oversees them. The distinction exists on paper, but dissolves in practice when his office determines its strategic priorities. His personal investment activity stays quieter. He's linked to stakes in technology startups, particularly those aligned with UAE Vision 2031, the national plan emphasizing sustainability and economic diversification, renewable energy projects, smart city infrastructure. Fintech companies are operating in Dubai's expanding crypto-friendly regulatory environment. These investments likely flow through private family offices, keeping his name off public filings while securing early positions in growth sectors. The Hamdan bin Mohammed Smart University operates under his institutional patronage. He doesn't own it personally. It's a government-accredited institution, but it bears his name and advances educational goals he champions. Similar arrangements exist for sports sponsorships through the Dubai Sports Council, which he chairs. This creates what might be called the billionaire paradox. He controls resources worth tens of billions through governmental authority, but separating what he personally owns from what he institutionally commands becomes nearly impossible. His signature approves billion-dollar projects. His policies shape where investment flows. His connections open doors no amount of personal wealth could access. The wealth generation works indirectly. Family businesses thrive under policies his office implements. His investment portfolio benefits from insider knowledge of upcoming developments. Prize money, appearance fees, and business opportunities flow to someone holding his position and name. Personal net worth becomes almost irrelevant when institutional power provides everything wealth normally purchases, and then some. Sheikh Hamdan doesn't just spend money, he directs where Dubai's entire economy moves next. Sheikh Hamdan's wealth defies simple calculation, by design. His real power isn't in assets owned but in decisions made. He shapes a city's future while driving himself to dinner, commands billions in resources while rescuing desert animals. In Dubai, influence and ownership have merged into something else entirely. Which one shocked you the most? Share your thoughts below.